Hello, my friend. Come, sit with me for a while. Let the noise of the world fall away, just for a moment. I want you to feel the weight in your shoulders, the tightness in your jaw, the low, constant hum of a mind that never truly rests. I know that feeling well. It is the feeling of the architect, the master planner, the captain of the ship of your own life. Every morning, you wake and unroll a vast, intricate blueprint. On it are the plans for the day, the week, the year. Every conversation is mapped out. Every project milestone is scheduled. Every potential risk is calculated and mitigated. Your hand is always on the tiller, your eyes fixed on the horizon, constantly scanning for unforeseen storms, ever ready to adjust the sails to stay on the meticulously charted course. This is the great unspoken burden of our modern age. We have been told that we are the sole authors of our destiny, the masters of our fate. Technology gives us the illusion of total control, allowing us to manage our calendars, our finances, and our social lives with the tap of a screen. And so we strive, we work tirelessly to build a life that matches the blueprint, a life that is safe, predictable, and successful. We believe that if we just try hard enough, plan carefully enough, and stay vigilant enough, we can force the chaotic elements of existence to bend to our will. We pour every ounce of our energy into holding it all together, managing every variable, controlling every outcome. But life, in its wild and unpredictable wisdom, does not follow our blueprints. A storm of illness appears on a clear day. The solid ground of our career shifts unexpectedly beneath our feet. A relationship we designed to last a lifetime develops cracks in its foundation that we never foresaw. And when these things happen, what is our first instinct? We grip the tiller even tighter. We work frantically to patch the cracks, to steer back to the original course, to regain control. The anxiety intensifies. The exhaustion deepens. And when we inevitably fail to tame the storm, we are left with a feeling far worse than mere disappointment. We are left with shame. We believe the fault lies in our planning, in our execution, in our own inadequacy. I should have seen this coming. We tell ourselves, I should have been stronger. The burnout you feel is not a sign of your weakness. It is the inevitable result of trying to do an impossible job. It is the profound exhaustion that comes from trying to be God in your own life. But what if the goal was never to have a perfect blueprint? What if true peace is found not in tightening our grip, but in learning, finally, to let go? What if the path to a meaningful life is not one of meticulous control, but of courageous trust? There is a path, an ancient wisdom that speaks directly to this modern ailment. 2,000 years ago, a teacher walked the hills of Galilee and saw the very same struggle in the eyes of the people he met. He saw the farmers anxiously scanning the skies, the merchants worrying over their goods, the mothers and fathers burdened by the future of their children. He saw the immense weight they carried, and in the face of their anxiety, Jesus did not offer them a better strategy for control. He did not give them a 5-step plan for a more predictable life. He did something far more radical. He pointed them away from their frantic efforts and towards the effortless grace of the world around them. He spoke of the birds of the air and the lilies of the field. He offered an invitation not to a life of passive resignation, but to a life of active, vibrant trust in a goodness that underpins all of reality. This is the teaching we have forgotten. We have mistaken it for a sweet sentiment, a gentle poem about nature. But it is, in truth, a revolutionary key to unlocking a life free from the crushing weight of trying to control everything. It is the secret to finding rest for our weary souls. To truly understand the power behind this invitation to let go, we must travel back. Let us leave behind the noise and haste of our world and find ourselves on a sun-warmed hillside in Galilee. The air is clear, and below us, the Sea of Galilee shimmers like a sapphire. There are no cathedrals here, no gilded altars, only the earth beneath our feet and the vast sky above. Jesus is sitting among the people, not standing above them, and the crowd that has gathered is a tapestry of human worry. There are fishermen whose hands are rough from mending nets, their minds occupied with the day's catch and the ever-present threat of a sudden storm. There are farmers whose gaze constantly shifts to the sky, calculating the odds of rain for their thirsty crops. There are mothers with children at their sides, their hearts carrying the silent, heavy question of how they will provide the next meal. These are not abstract anxieties. They are the raw, immediate fears of survival. Their need to control their environment was not a modern neurosis. It was a daily necessity. It is to these people, to their very real and justified fears, that Jesus speaks. He looks at their worried faces, and he begins a teaching that must have sounded utterly radical, perhaps even irresponsible to their ears. He says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life." The word in the original Greek that he uses for worry is merimnao. This word does not simply mean to think about or to plan for. It has a much deeper meaning. It means to have a divided mind, to be pulled apart in different directions. It is the state of being mentally fractured, with one part of your mind trying to live in the present, while the other is frantically trying to manage 1,000 possible futures. It is the anxiety that gnaws at you at 3 a.m, the endless loop of what-ifs that paralyzes you. Jesus was diagnosing the precise condition of a soul torn apart by the attempt to control what is uncontrollable. Then, he offers them a new way to see. "Look at the birds of the air," he says. He does not say, "Be lazy like the birds." He says, "Look." It is an instruction to pay attention, to observe a different reality that exists right alongside their frantic one. The birds are not idle. They are intensely alive, busy with the work of being birds. They build nests, they find food, they soar on the wind, but they do all this without the crippling weight of merimnao. They are wholly present in their task. Their minds are not divided between the worm they are seeking now and the worms they might need next week. They live in a state of active, trusting participation with life. Jesus is showing that it is possible to be diligent without being consumed by anxiety, to work without being fractured by worry. He goes even deeper. "Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these." Here, the lesson shifts from diligence to being. The lily's breathtaking beauty is not a product of its effort. It does not strive to be magnificent. It simply is. It is an effortless, glorious expression of its own God-given nature. By saying this, Jesus offers a staggering re-evaluation of our worth. He suggests that our ultimate value does not come from the sum of our anxious efforts, our planning, our controlling, and our striving for glory. Our true glory, like the lilies, is found in becoming fully and authentically what we were created to be, trusting that this state of being is, in itself, beautiful and pleasing to God. He then asks that devastatingly simple question: can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? With this, he exposes the complete futility of our control-based anxiety. It is wasted energy. It is a tool that does not work. This is not a call to inaction. It is a call to a different kind of action. The alternative he offers is this: seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. He is inviting us to reorient our primary focus. Instead of pouring all our energy into controlling the external details of our life, the food, the clothing, the future, we are invited to pour our energy into the one thing we can truly influence: the state of our own heart and its alignment with God in this present moment. It is a radical shift from managing outcomes to cultivating presence. Jesus taught with profound authority on the hillsides, but I have found that some of his most piercing wisdom was revealed not in a sermon to the masses, but in the quiet intimacy of a friend's home. For it is there, amidst the clatter of plates and the familiar anxieties of daily life, that the grand principle of letting go must ultimately be lived. There is one such story, a brief and beautiful moment, that serves as the living heart of this teaching. It is not a parable he told, but a real situation he entered, and his response provides a perfect illustration of the choice we all face every single day. The choice between the path of anxious control and the path of trusting presence. Let us go to the small village of Bethany, to the home of 3 siblings whom Jesus loved dearly: Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. On this day, Jesus has come to visit. Imagine the scene. The moment the news arrives that the Master is coming, the house is thrown into a flurry of activity. Martha, ever the responsible and capable host, immediately takes charge. Her mind becomes a whirlwind of tasks. The bread must be baked. The table must be set. The finest cups must be brought out. The floor must be swept. She loves Jesus deeply, and for her, this love is expressed through service, through creating a perfect, orderly, and welcoming environment. Every detail must be controlled to ensure the visit is flawless. We all know this feeling, don't we? The pressure to be the perfect host, the perfect employee, the perfect parent. It comes from a place of love, but it is a love entangled with the heavy threads of anxiety and expectation. As Martha rushes from the kitchen to the courtyard, her movements becoming more frantic, her mind more fractured, with every new task she adds to her list, she sees her sister, Mary, and Mary is doing nothing. She is simply sitting on the floor at Jesus' feet, her body still, her gaze fixed on him, completely absorbed in his presence and his words. The sounds of Martha's hurried preparations seem to fade into a distant hum for her. She has made a choice. In the midst of the chaos of hospitality, she has chosen the one thing that feels most important. For Martha, this is the final straw. The pressure she has put on herself now overflows into resentment. She feels the sting of injustice. Here she is, working herself to exhaustion for the sake of their guest, and her sister sits there, useless. Her anxiety has reached its boiling point, and she does something quite remarkable. She interrupts Jesus himself to complain. "Lord," she says, her voice tight with frustration, "don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." It is the desperate cry of every person who feels overwhelmed by the burden of control, looking at a world that seems unwilling to cooperate with their plans. And Jesus' response is one of the most gentle and psychologically astute moments in all the Gospels. He does not scold her. He does not dismiss her work. He sees straight through the frustration to the root of her suffering. He speaks her name twice, a sign of both tenderness and urgency. "Martha, Martha," he says, his voice full of compassion. "You are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." He diagnoses her condition perfectly. The problem is not the work. The problem is that she is worried and upset. She is in a state of merim now, her mind divided and pulled apart. She is a prisoner of the many things. He then gently points her to the alternative. Mary has chosen the one thing. She has chosen presence over production, relationship over responsibility, being over doing. Jesus affirms that in the grand scheme of things, this choice for presence is what is better. He is not saying that preparing a meal is bad. He is saying that preparing a meal while losing your soul to anxiety is a bad trade. He is inviting Martha, and all of us who are just like her, to stop, to breathe, and to re-evaluate our priorities, not just for a lifetime, but in this very moment. The story of Martha and Mary is not just a Sunday school lesson, it is a mirror for the soul. I see myself in that story every single day. I see my own frantic Martha energy rising when the house is a mess and guests are coming, or when a project at work is falling behind schedule. and I feel the deep yearning for the quiet peace of Mary. The part of me that just wants to be still and know that all is well. The genius of Jesus' teaching is that he does not condemn Martha. He loves her. He simply invites her to a better way of living. And that invitation is extended to us. Not in some distant, future moment of enlightenment, but right here, in the middle of our messy, beautiful, and often overwhelming lives. So, how do we begin to accept this invitation? How do we practice letting go when our whole world screams at us to hold on tighter? It begins with the small things, with the gentle art of noticing. The next time you feel that familiar knot of anxiety tightening in your stomach, perhaps you are stuck in traffic and late for an appointment, or a conversation with a loved one is not going the way you planned, just pause. Before you try to fix it, before you start running through 1,000 different scenarios in your mind, just notice the feeling. Name it. Ah, here it is. The need to control. Simply acknowledging it, without judgment, creates a tiny space between you and the anxiety. In that space, you can ask a gentle question. What is one thing in this moment I can be grateful for? Or one thing I can simply accept? You cannot control the traffic, but you can feel the warmth of the sun on your arm. You cannot control the other person's reaction, but you can control your own next breath. This is not about giving up. It is about shifting your focus from the vast ocean of what you cannot control to the small, solid island of what you can, your own state of being in this present moment. I once knew a man, a very successful businessman, who was a master planner. His life was a fortress of schedules and 5-year plans. Then, a sudden illness shattered his blueprint. Everything he had tried to control was taken from him. He spent months in anger and despair, fighting against his reality. One day, confined to his bed, he began watching the birds outside his window. He told me later, "For the first time in my life, I truly saw them." He noticed how they went about their day with a kind of joyful industry, free from the weight of tomorrow. He began to practice what he called lily and sparrow moments. Whenever his mind would start to spin with worry about his future, he would deliberately find one small, simple thing to be present with: the taste of his tea, the sound of his wife's laughter, the feeling of the sheets on his skin. It did not cure his illness, but he said it cured his soul. He learned to release his white-knuckled grip on the life he had planned, and began to gently receive the life he had been given. This practice extends to our relationships as well. So much of our conflict comes from trying to control the people we love. We have a blueprint for how our spouse should behave, how our children should live, how our friends should think. When they deviate from our plan, we try to correct them, to manage them, to fix them, all in the name of love. But this is not true love. It is a love born of fear. The practice here is to learn the art of loving without an agenda. It is to offer your presence, your support, your wisdom if it is asked for, but to release the outcome. It is to trust that their journey is their own, and your role is to be a loving companion, not the architect of their life. This is one of the hardest and most rewarding practices of all. It is to love someone enough to let them be who they are, not who you need them to be. This is not a one-time decision, but a daily, sometimes hourly, practice. It is the practice of gently unclenching your fist, again and again. It is choosing Mary's part, even for just 5 minutes in a busy Martha day. It is a quiet rebellion against the tyranny of control, and it is the only path to the deep, abiding rest your soul is longing for. And so, we come to the end of our time together, but to the true beginning of a new way of walking through the world. We started by acknowledging the heavy blueprint we all carry, the exhausting work of being the architect of a life we feel we must control down to the last detail. We felt the deep weariness that comes from this impossible task, the anxiety that hums beneath the surface of our constant striving. From that honest place, we traveled back to a sunlit hill in Galilee and listened as Jesus offered a revolutionary alternative. He invited us to look at the birds and the lilies, not as lessons in idleness, but as masters of a life of diligent, active trust, free from the fractured mind of worry. We then stepped into the warm, bustling home of Martha, and we saw ourselves in her loving but anxious service. We felt her frustration, her burden of managing the many things, and in the quiet stillness of her sister Mary, we felt the deep pull towards the one thing our souls truly need: a trusting presence with the divine, right in the midst of our ordinary lives. We then brought that sacred choice back into our own homes and workplaces, discovering small, practical ways to unclench our fists, to choose curiosity over control, and to love the people in our lives without needing them to follow our personal blueprint. Now, here at the end of our path is the final invitation. It is not a call to another form of effort. It is not another task to add to your list. In fact, it is the opposite. It is an invitation to exhale. It is a gentle encouragement to simply stop, to stop holding the entire world on your shoulders. The great paradox of the spiritual life is that true strength is found not in our power to control, but in our courage to trust. The peace you are searching for is not on the other side of a perfectly executed plan. It is on the other side of your surrender. Surrendering your need to know the future. Surrendering your need for everyone to approve of you. Surrendering your need for life to go exactly as you have designed it. This surrender is not a sign of failure. It is the ultimate act of faith. It is the wisdom of the farmer who plants the seed, but surrenders the outcome to the sun, the rain, and the mystery of the soil. It is the wisdom of the sailor who sets the sails, but surrenders the journey to the power of the wind. It is the quiet, powerful recognition that you are not the sole force at the center of the universe. You are a participant in a grand, divine dance, and your role is not to control the music, but to learn to move with its rhythm. If you feel moved, take a moment now. Close your eyes. Bring to mind the one thing in your life you are gripping with all your might. A relationship, a career goal, a worry about a child, a fear of the future. See it clearly in your mind. Feel the tension in your body as you hold on to it. Now, in the quiet of your own heart, imagine gently opening your hands. Imagine placing this precious, heavy thing into a pair of hands far larger, wiser, and more loving than your own. Visualize yourself letting it go, not into a void of chaos, but into the care of a loving providence. Feel the weight lifting from your shoulders. Feel the space opening up in your chest. Feel the quiet peace that enters when you stop trying to hold it all together. This is the rest Jesus invites you to. It is always here, waiting for you in every moment you choose trust over control. This is a practice for a lifetime, a gentle dance of remembering and forgetting, of gripping and releasing. Be patient with yourself. Some days you will hold on tightly, and that is okay. But the invitation to let go will always be waiting. May you walk from this place a little lighter, with your hands a little more open, and with a heart that is learning, day by day, to trust the wind. Be well, my friend. Peace is not found in commanding the wind, but in setting your sails to trust it. Reflections from a 70-year-old storyteller.